Hello, this is Kieran from CryptoBoost. Really happy to have you here with me today on the 28th of July. Unfortunately, the market has been taking a bit of a plunge in the last few days, but take a big breath and remember the bigger picture is what's important. Long term is what's important, not these small fluctuations. So in this video, I want a quick look at short-term outlook on what Bitcoin might have for support and resistances. Afterwards, I want to touch the subject about the Golden Cross, which should happen in the next few days, what impact that can have on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market. Some information about tax in America. Apparently, IRS has been sending letters to people that have traded a certain amount of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in the last few years and hasn't reported it. Afterwards, bullish news on Bitcoin from China. And last but not least, I want to talk to you about the monthly returns of investment on Bitcoin throughout the years. And I think that's a very interesting it's a very interesting topic, and there's actually pretty good data that shows which months are actually the most lucrative in terms of return on investment and which months are the least lucrative. So stick to the end because that's when the juicy parts are going to be, and yeah, enjoy the video. So talking about Bitcoin in terms of technical analysis, we've got the 4-hour chart, and if we zoom in right nice here, we've had this trend line going. I get my pen to We've had this trend line going from around 8,800 to the 9,865 US dollar range, and unfortunately this trend has been broken, and that means now we're trading below this trend line at around $9,437. We spiked a little bit back up, but I see as a short-term price development that will be touching this lower trend line, which dates back to quite a while ago. That's around the 10th of July, beginning of the month. And should we touch there? Should we bounce off of this trend line? That could be a good indication that we'll continue higher, but I see it possible that we'll touch this trend line here at the 8,000, 9,000 US dollar range around here, and then it's going to be important to see how the buying pressure is at this range, if we're going to manage to bounce away from this and go back higher, and if we're going to manage and hold this support. So yeah, I think it's always very interesting to see the short-term price development, but just to make sure, the thing is with the cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin especially, there's a lot of fluctuations, a lot of noise. So don't try and catch these very small fluctuations, as there's a lot of manipulation in the market, and try and think long term. Set different prices where you feel comfortable in accumulating, and use a dollar cost averaging strategy so you don't end up buying at the top and manage to keep the lowest average buying price. Now, so we can see the rising support around 9,000 US dollars as mentioned, and if Bitcoin price actions breaks through this support, so this blue line that we had here, this one here, then it's possible that we see the price drop down to 7,800 US dollars, and this is called the point of control, and it essentially acts as a magnet. And for healthy price growth, the price has to come back and test these point of controls and see if there's a support at that line. And when the support, then afterwards another healthy price increase can occur. So yeah, at the moment we are a bit negative. We've got a negative return on investment on the month of July. The month is still not finished. We've still got a few days. But yeah, we're going to have to see how August is going to hold up, if we're going to see a bit more positive, or we're going to see a continuation of the trend, and that would be mean a negative return on investment for the month of August. So another thing that I wanted to point out is that we're going to have a Golden Cross approaching in the next few days, but you never know. I mean, it can happen, it cannot happen. Nothing is 100% certain in any market. But if we compare the Golden Cross of Bitcoin in the next few days, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and we compare it with the Golden Cross which happened in 2016, then there was a definite increase in price afterwards. It would be nice. However, I do see that the price is going to be touching this 8,000, even the $7,600 range before the Golden Cross happening. And the more the price decreases, the longer the time span will be before the Golden Cross happens. But yeah, after this, I hope for the bounce around this area, like the 7,362 US dollar range. And should the bounce happen and the price trades sideways, then a Golden Cross is probably going to happen in the next 1 or 2 weeks. And afterwards, after this Golden Cross happens, then there's probably also a very good signal that the price is going to increase a bit higher, and the next upwards rally is slowly going to start. Now, in terms of taxes, the IRS has been sending warnings to cryptocurrency holders to pay their taxes, and that's for the US. And the Internal Revenue Service is sending letters to around 10,000 digital currency holders who potentially failed to pay the necessary taxes or improperly reported taxes on their digital assets last year. And in some cases, the IRS says taxpayers could be subject to criminal prosecution. And as far as I know, it's for any amounts above 20,000 US dollars. So if you own Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, you might want to check your mailbox. The Internal Revenue Service is in the process of sending letters to US citizens who own virtual currency and potentially fail to pay their taxes. Now, this letter might see like this. This is from a user who posted this on Reddit, and this is a letter from the IRS telling him about the taxes that he failed to report, and potentially could have some problems if he doesn't report them correctly. Like here he says what you need to do respond by day above and take one of the following actions. If you fail to file one or more income tax returns, file the delinquent returns and report your virtual currency transactions as soon as possible. And if you fail to do that, then you could have some criminal charges and even more taxes here you have to pay. So it doesn't sound very good. Unfortunately, hope you have filed your taxes correctly if you're living in the US or Canada. And the agency, they sent around 10,000 letters at the moment, probably going to be sending more. And last year, popular trading platform Coinbase alerted 13,000 customers that was complying with a court order to provide the IRS with information on accounts worth at least 20,000 US dollars from the years 2013 to 2015. The IRS did not say whether its mailing list was a result of the Coinbase disclosure. And most trades count as short-term capital gains in the US, and these can be taxed as high as 39%, depending on which income bracket. Those who hold Bitcoin for more than a year and then sell it, however, only liable for long-term capital gains, which is levied at a significant lower rate, and that's between 15 and 23.8%. Still pretty high if you ask me, and if you compare with other countries. All right, now on a bit more bullish and good news, and that's talking about China. And in recent years, they've been pretty negative in terms of Bitcoin and blockchain in general. And now they've issued an infographic. The Bank of China posted an infographic explaining Bitcoin and its price increase. the infographic points towards the fact that Bitcoin has a limited supply and naturally making the cryptocurrency prone to price increases. And this is a very bullish information news article. I'm pretty happy about that, especially since they've been quite negative in the last few years. This is a change of sentiment. They're showing their users that Bitcoin is good, cryptocurrencies are good, that also it's bullish in nature. And yeah, I think all in all, this is a very good information coming from China, from the Bank of China. So even though all cryptocurrencies are banned in China at the moment, it seems it's being a bit of a shift in perspective. It seems that one of the big four biggest state-owned commercial banks is promoting the biggest of them all, and that's Bitcoin. The Bank of China, BOC, released an infographic illustrating what is Bitcoin and how it works and why it has the value it has. I've got the infographic here open. It's in Chinese. So unless you can read Chinese, you can just look at the pictures here. They're talking about the different mining rewards. For example, 2012 to 2016, you had 25 BTC as a mining reward. And this is the block time. And between 2016 to 2025, you have 12.5 BTC mining reward. And between 2020 and 2024, so the next halving, you're going to have 6.5 as a mining reward for each block mined. All in all, a very good infographic, and it's a very positive infographic from what I read about it. Pretty happy about this. So here's more information. Yesterday, the Bank of China posted up an article about Bitcoin, explained how BTC works, why the price is going up, and why it's valuable. So, for example, showing that due to the halvings, the supply of Bitcoin is being reduced, and that means there's a lower supply. So that the infographic starts with the words, Bitcoin was once known as the myth of riches, and at the end of 2017, it was once the highest price of $20,000 and is asking the question, what is Bitcoin? So I think it's also very good to that they're trying to show that Bitcoin is not something that is like just for fraud or people that buy in Bitcoin are silly. I think they're trying to bring a much more positive view on Bitcoin for their customers, and probably will be launching some Bitcoin and cryptocurrency related services, maybe the option that the Bank of China clients might be able to buy Bitcoin through their exchange if they're launching an exchange. But I'm sure like the first steps are there. It's very good. And yeah, I think I'm really happy about this. The CEO of Binance states, who wants to bet the Chinese version of Libra gets there first. And yesterday, the Bank of China posted up an article about Bitcoin. It's also possible that they're going to try and piggyback on the Bitcoin bull run, the Bitcoin hype, and launch their Chinese cryptocurrency, Chinese version of Libra, and compare it to Bitcoin and the success that Bitcoin has had. So I'm pretty hyped about all this, pretty hyped about a change of sentiment coming from China. Even though it's only one company at the moment, I think many other companies are going to follow suit, and a more positive sentiment is going to come out of it. Now, this is a very interesting article I found, and it's about Bitcoin historical monthly performance, and this could shed light on what's next for crypto. And I think this is fantastic, even though past price action does not mean we're going to see the same future price action, but very often there is a certain correlation. So everyone has heard that history often repeats itself. It's not a guarantee, but that does happen. And the same goes for Bitcoin and crypto. And analysts often look past bear and bull cycles to gain insight on how future price action may unfold. And according to historical Bitcoin monthly performance and general market sentiment, the first ever crypto is at a critical crossroads, and depending on how August performs, it could set the stage for the greatest bull run the world has ever seen. So very bullish So let's look at this tweet that was posted by BitDealer, and he says, ever wondered how BTC performs during certain months? Here's a historical monthly performance since 2012. We've got this open here, and it's a very interesting chart. So as you can see, for example, 2012 had very good returns. It was a very bullish year for Bitcoin. We only had February and March, and October, which was a bit in the negative, in the red, in terms of return on investment. Then 2013 was also pretty good. However, 2014 was the beginning of the bear market, with February a whopping minus 40%. And other months like March and April also very low. April wasn't so bad, but March at a minus 17.57% return on investment. And if we look at all the years, so we got 2013 to 2019, we might see a bit of a trend. So for example, if we look at January, probably January might be one of the better months to buy. If we look at this, because it's got the average return is lowest, so minus 0.18%, which is pretty good. And yeah, and then you've got maybe March was probably also, if you want to buy the lows and sell the highs, or you're just interested in long-term investment, it's probably maybe good to have a look at this chart. I'll link it down below, and maybe that might help you find some good entry points if you always buy in the same month. Because if we look at the highest return of investments in terms of Bitcoin, then we're going to see a very nice return on investment for the month of November, with the highest average return on investment of 75.58%. So we had November 2017, we had 54%. In 2015 we had 21%, but I think the average is dramatically pulled to the upside due to the massive increase in price in November 2013. But still, all in all, it's got one of the highest return on investments apart from the 2018 bear market. So that was the catalyst. Definitely very negative return on investment. Also here with the lowest return on investment for the year 2018. So it can have the best upside or the worst downside. Now if we look at 2019, July at the moment, it's got a negative return of investment of around minus 12%. However, the month is not over, as miracles can still happen. And I think seeing like now with negative return on investment for July, it's going to be very interesting to see how August performs. Are we going to have a negative return on investment? A positive one? Should we have here a positive one? It could mean that we're heading towards a nice bull run for the end of the year and have massive return on investment and nice gains for the last 3 months of the year. And then it would, yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. So I will link all this information down below if you want to look at it thoroughly, look at all the different prices. You have to be aware this is just past data, and it's not an indication of what will happen in the future. But I like to use it, especially since I like to buy the lows, and I'm mostly invested in the long term, so I'm not too affected by small monthly fluctuations in the price. I'm more interested in buying for a few years and seeing a bigger return on investment over the course of a few years and not just a few months. But I still like to see the different corrections and try and accumulate even more to increase my position during different corrections. So I think, for example, January might be a very good month, and for example, here also March is probably also a good month to increase your position. Not in 2019, but you never know. Things Doesn't mean that since it happened last year, it's going to have to happen again the same this year. But I think it's a very interesting chart to look at. Very nice data. So that was it for today. Hope you found this interesting. And if you've got any questions, if you've got any doubts, don't hesitate to leave them down in the comments below. I'll gladly answer them for you. And yeah, I wish you a nice day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.